What's up, GT gang? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new, I'm Mojo GT, and today I'm going to be telling you guys why you should not buy a double roller timing chain set for your third gen Hemi. Stay tuned. So before I even get started, I understand the reputation that double roller timing chains have for being stronger, way more durable. They're going to provide you with more longevity, and just everything is supposed to be better, right? You know, specifically for what this is, it's billet. It's got timing adjustments at the crank sprocket. I mean, it just doesn't get any better than this. Well, I'm here to tell you guys that that's just not the case. So a little bit of backstory. This is my 6.1 based 426 stroker that I'm going to throw a supercharger on, specifically a Procharger, and we're going to try to be faster than a Hellcat and a 2006 Dodge Charger SRT8. Well, since that's not really the case right this minute, I've actually been stuck in this spot for a few weeks now because of this exact issue. So let me explain to you guys what happened. So I found out that the OEM Woodruff keys were actually a little bit different than the ones that I installed. So what I ended up doing was buying a set, pull everything off, install the OEM Woodruff keys to just have that peace of mind, right? So while doing that, I went to install my ATI super damper. Everybody gets these when you modify your third gen Hemi. It's like in the third gen Hemi Bible. You get an ATI super damper when you modify your Hemi, whether you want to go underdrive, overdrive, etc. You always get one of these. So that's exactly what I did. And on top of that, about 6 months ago, they just released this high volume oil pump for the third gen Hemi. When I built this motor, they only had a high pressure oil pump. All your third gen Hemi lifter tick, Hemi tick problems come from low volume of oil at low RPM, aka your idle. So the only way to actually bring the pressure up at idle is to have a higher volume of oil. So that's exactly what I wanted to do. I pulled everything off. I already had everything sealed up. I threw on this high volume oil pump, and when I installed this double roller timing chain set, you actually have to have spacers on your oil pump because it actually has a wider chain, which brings your oil pump farther away from your engine in order to make sure that your chain is aligned properly. Just for reference, here's what that looks like as opposed to the factory 6.1 single roller OEM. This is OEM Mopar right here. So although that sounds great, that they made spacers to make it work, they did not take into account your cam trigger wheel actually hits your timing cover. Look at this, guys. I had to grind an insane amount away, which, you know what? They say that in the instructions. You may have to grind off. Yeah, you are going to have to grind off your timing cover. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I had to grind excessively in order to clearance this thing. It was unreal. I had to use a die, as you can see. This is going to wear off over time. It's not that big of a deal. But this is how much we had to grind away, guys. I would say it's probably a 1/16 of an inch of material that I actually had to grind away, which doesn't seem like a lot, but in terms of metal and tolerances and everything, guys, a 1/16 of an inch is a lot, and they could have easily taken that off the edge right here. And this is not to mention the fact that if I didn't have access to a lathe from my uncle, we could not even install this kit. So this is the oil pump drive gear that you get. On the factory one, they're one piece like this. But since you can advance and retard your timing at the crank, you have them in two pieces. So, as you can see, there's a little bit of step up right here. You'd slide this on, and this is supposed to be a slip fit. This is supposed to slide on and off, no problem. I would get here and it would hit a wall. I mean, we're talking, I would have to press this on to make it work. So we pulled it off. You know what? Aftermarket parts, whatever, it is what it is. We took a few thousandths off on a lathe on the ID of the gear. And we put it on, and it fits nice and good now. So your oil pump drive gear sits in here, but it doesn't just slide right in. This protrusion right here, where it's machined all the way around, actually fits where these three fingers go, okay? So it actually ends up protruding out of the oil pump a little bit. So you know what? That's exactly how it's supposed to be from factory. No big deal, right? Well, these spacers bring this out a little bit farther than it does from factory, and I drove my oil pump or my balancer through, and I didn't even bottom out the balancer. I still had space to where I still had to drive in my balancer. And this is what it did. Cracked my brand new $200 oil pump. And as you can see, I have two of them right here because I drove this in, and this spacer brought my oil pump farther to the harmonic balancer, and it just drove right into it, completely sandwiched it. And when I put everything back together, bolted everything up, my engine would not turn over at all. It would not even budge. So obviously I had to pull everything apart, and that's what I found. My balancer drove right through, put a crack in all three of these fingers. So obviously I had to order another one. And I talked to Byron from MMX, and he told me he's had nothing but problems with these double roller timing chain sets. So the fact that you have to modify oil pump drive gear, you have to modify your balancer if you even want it to work, you have to modify your timing cover. By then, if your OEM 6.1 does just as good and the longevity is there, and quite frankly, it's easier to get. You know, this is from comp cams, and comp cams have shit on back order all the time. So that being said, that's why you should not buy a double roller timing chain set. And trust me, I went every single measure to try to make this work. You can ask people. I've had people tell me, why are you even trying to do this? I mean, you're modifying so many things to make this one thing work, and modifying something as important as the harmonic balancer pulley, or the hub at least, is just unreal. I'm not going to do it to this engine. What I'm going to do is modify all of those things on my 6.1 for the Magnum and see if it works. So, I mean, what it boils down to is you have to modify this way more than you should. It should be bolt on. I get the fact that you might have to grind some of your timing cover. You know what? I can live with that because they included that in the instructions. But the fact that I had to put the oil pump drive gear in the lathe, take a few thou out, and then I had to sacrifice a $200 oil pump just to find this out, I'm heated about it. So, comp cams, you need to fix this. And if I'm doing something wrong, I am more than accepting of that fact. So, go ahead and drop it down below if you think I'm doing something wrong. But this doesn't add up, guys. This isn't my first Hemi that I've built. Like, I've done a lot of research on these, and I'm not ignorant to the fact of what I'm doing. So, we'll go ahead and put the old OEM timing chain set on and put everything back together, and then we'll be ready to put this thing in. So, thank you guys for all the support, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.